Hello, people of God. This is by Jacob's Way TV, and I am Dupi Dupi Singer. This is episode 140. 140. I also want to tell you one of the stories that I can never forget while we were at the garden near the fire service. An elderly man came into our gathering one Sunday. He was looking tattered and dirty. He was not comely by any standard, yet he was a human being, and I realized that Jesus died for all human beings. So I allowed him to sit down with us. He sat down with us for 4 weeks, 4 Sundays. It was on the fifth Sunday or thereabout that, you know, I as I go to church, I will have prepared myself my sermon, and then I will say to the Holy Spirit, well, you know the needs of your people. Speak through me. Nonetheless, the fact that I have prepared my sermon. I got to church that day under the tree, and somehow I was led to talk about the story of David and how um, he committed adultery with Bathsheba and how the Lord punished him. You know, everybody likes to hear that story because just like God Himself said in the Bible, you know, the reason why that child that Bathsheba gave birth to had to go. The Lord said, because you have given an occasion for the enemies of the Lord to blaspheme the name of the Lord. And that story of David has given an occasion all over the generations to blaspheme the name of the Lord. At the beer, beer parlors, we are always talking, David sinned, committed many sins, and God loved him. They never bothered to look at the details of the story and the punishment that David had to go through for committing those three or two offenses. Then the man put up his hand. The elderly man, he put up his hand and he said, can I ask a question? I said yes. He said, David committed murder. I said yes. He asked many other questions. I took my time to answer him. And then he said, you know why I'm asking these questions? I said no. He said to me that he came from Warri, that he's not a regular person in Lagos, and he's not a street guy. I don't even know if I should say he is not or he was not. I believe he's still alive. You understand what I mean? But for the sake of language, let us use the past tense. He was not a regular, he was not a street guy, that he came to get lost in the crowd in Lagos. I now asked him why. He said because he murdered a guy, he killed a guy. We all kept quiet. It was all, nobody could talk, say anything again. I looked around. This man is a murderer. Did I tell you he was not comely by any sense? I said, what happened? He said it was in self-defense. And he looked around. We were all quiet. He said, if you will believe my story. Because he said he believed that God was in our midst. If God also believed in his story, he knew that God was going to get him out, even though he was a murderer. His story was this. A man had set an ambush for him to kill him after all the other traders in the market had gone, had gone away from the daily trading. The guy had set an ambush for him. It was like the last person that will always go. The guy fought with him, and he realized that the guy was intent on killing him, and he had to fight for his life. He said he killed the man instead of him killing him. That was how he was able to save himself from trouble. But the truth of the matter was that a man had died, and before any judgment, everybody were judging him to be a murderer. So he had to run to safety. And he thought that he could just come to Lagos and just be on the streets until, by the mercy of God, the truth will come out. As he came to Lagos, of course, people were talking at the place of the market in Warri, and the truth started coming out. People started saying that the man that was dead actually had been carelessly saying that he was going to kill the man that is alive, the man that was now in our church telling us the story. That he was been drinking and saying if he has a chance, he was going to lay an ambush for him. But everybody thought he was just drunk. And so nobody warned the other man that it was the fact that God was a just judge that made him spare the man that was now telling us the story in church. The stories were going around, and I guess that the union of the traders in the market had gone on his behalf, even when they did not know where he was. He was hardly picking anybody's call because he didn't know what was waiting for him. So they went to the police and said to the police, look, if for whatever reason you pick this man and lock him up, you will have done a disservice to justice. And they gave evidences of the fact that the man had told them that he was going to kill this man, but they didn't take him seriously. They thought it was those were the words of a drunkard. Hmm. After telling the story, yeah, by this time he had not even known. By this time he had not known that people had gone on his behalf, or maybe it was even after. He had not known that people had gone on his behalf to the police. When he told the story was actually very moving. Even the hardened street guys were touched by his story. So I said, kneel down. I told him to kneel down in our midst, and all of us held our hands and we prayed a prayer of unity for him. And the prayer we prayed was that, Lord, if he was without any guilt in this matter, if he was guiltless, that God should discharge and acquit him and let him go. How God was going to do it, we didn't know. But God should please let him hear the news so that he can go back to his base. He wasn't a young man, he was an elderly man. He was walking on the streets aimlessly to save his life from whatever. And we said that prayer with all sincerity and we went away. I didn't see him the next week. But the second week I saw this man. He was well dressed. You wouldn't know that he is comely. That is the biblical description. He was looking very good. He was wearing a very white shirt, a dark man. The white shirt was sparkling, beside his dark complexion. He was looking good, very fresh. He came to church. By this time, he has heard that the traders in Warri had gathered together and gone to the police on his behalf, and the police had assured them that they will investigate the matter. By the time they realized that he was without guilt, as it were, that he did that as self-defense or for self-defense, he was called back. They told him, come back. There's no problem. There's nothing against you. Come back and let the police strike the matter off their records so that they can discharge and acquit you. So he came to church to give a thanksgiving offering. I think he dropped 2,000 naira in an envelope that day. Remember, we do not take offerings usually, but we took this one and added it to the money that we usually use to buy food for ourselves. Every time I remember the story of that man, I'm glad that God puts me out there in the open, because there are so many other stories of people who ran into trouble and had to use the streets to cover themselves up before the truth of their um, the fact that they are not guilty will come out. And somehow they just run into a church on the street, and you know they table their matter before God, and we always pray for them. And somehow God always answers and sets them free. Some of the people, they don't come back. We have not seen that old man for since that time. I'm talking about almost 3, 4, 5 years ago. But I thank God that God made us available for him on the streets, and that he had the word of the Lord. It was that story of David that made him speak. He would not have spoken at all. Why did God make me? Why did the Holy Spirit make me put aside my sermon for that day to pick up that story about David? It was because of him, because it was that story that motivated him to talk. And we prayed for him, and the Lord hearkened, just like the biblical language will say, and set him free. He's been so free that he has not had to come back to Lagos to be a street guy again. This is my Jacob Sweet TV. I am Dupi Dupi Singer. Please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and do all the needful. Please don't run away from your place of assignment. Please don't run away from your place of assignment. I didn't run away. If I can do it, you can do it. God bless you. Bye bye.